So Mr. Riley seems incapable of understanding that the height of this point here above mean sea level is around 50 feet. And on the day when I took, and I was there, and Al Kay shot some video footage of the wind turbines, our camera was roughly 40 feet above the height of the water. How do we know this? Well, we know this from the Ordnance Survey map and the tide height data, but we also know it from other ways. Anthony Riley thinks that running a tape measure from here to here and using either a photograph or using a spirit level with a rotatable level on it and trying to approximate that to the angle that the tape is forming, a flexible tape is forming, is an accurate way of measuring an angle. Well, I'm sorry, but it isn't. So how do we know that this height is 40 feet other than from Ordnance Survey? Well, I have used the Dioptra app to measure the angle from a rock in the image. So let's go back here. This particular rock, I placed the camera on the phone on top of that rock and took an angle going straight up to this point on the bank, and I took another angle going from the top of the rock to the point where the camera was. And this gives us two different triangles. So if there's an error between the two, then we can take an average, or sort of use one to check against the other, if you like. So using those angles, so we have straight up the bank, we have 18.6 as the angle obtained, and we can simply add a text box, this picture showing the calculation, both in meters and in feet. So the angle is 18.6. I'm very slightly below the height at the top of the bank, but that's fine. The distance I've used here is a distance taken from Google Earth. So using Google Earth, you can measure the distance in feet to the top of the bank. And it's around about 107 feet to that point on the top of the bank. And if you do the same measurement from the top of the rock to this point here, you get around about 137 feet, depending on where you go to, right to the middle, 137 feet. So the first angle gives us a height of 36 feet or 11 meters. And the second angle is shallower angle because we're measuring back across to the point where the camera was, and this time I've gone slightly over, so instead of using 14.9 I've reduced the angle to 14.8, and we get 36.3 feet and 11.07 meters doing our calculation for the height of the bank. So these come out to 11 meters or 36 feet. We know that the tide, this photograph was taken just 20 minutes after the video footage was shot, and we can see that the tide, a very still day, the tide is well below, the water level is well below the height of this rock. The camera was placed on the top of this rock and a reading taken up here. This is a very large rock, it's not going to move. So we know that our actual height is, we have to maybe add a foot on for the height of the rock itself, and possibly even another foot on for the height of the down to the actual water level at the time. Although the video footage was shot 20 minutes earlier than this, so perhaps not bothering with that. We'll just add a foot or two on for the rock itself. But we also have a tripod height to add, which looks about 4 feet. Most people, I think the camera was at about chest, between waist and chest height, so probably about 4 feet. And another foot to add on to here, and that's 5 feet we can add on without adding any extra little bit to the beach. So we have 36 feet plus 5 feet, 41 feet. Seems to me pretty little doubt that the video footage was shot 40 feet above sea level, the actual sea level. This agrees with Ordnance Survey, and the tide height that we can see here in the shot of the video. The section of the video that I used was this section here, just a couple of minutes before this shot here. So once again, we have a question to ask. What is more accurate, Ordnance Survey plus a sensible estimate of the tide height, or Anthony Riley and his tape measure and spirit level wobbling around in the breeze as he tried to get an accurate angle up the bank? The fact that he got to, I think he got to 30 feet, the fact that he got as close to accurate as 30 feet is actually quite an achievement. But he wasn't measuring from the correct spot, and he wasn't measuring with an accurate method. So we'll leave it there. I think the case for it being 40 feet is made conclusively. But if anybody wants to challenge that, please feel free to do so in the comments below.